During Monday's Marcus Freeman press conference, he unveiled that wide receiver Jordan Faison would be out 1 to 2 weeks with an ankle injury. KK Smith joins that 6 wide receiver rotation. Any concerns about the passing game without Jordan Faison being a part of it?
It's not a Jordan Faison thing to me, and this is coming from a guy that literally last week was jumping on that train and saying, okay, I have to put in my season predictions. I think it's going to be Jordan Faison who leads this team. And he went out there and played most of the starter snaps, if that's what you would call them, with this 6-man wide receiver rotation. And so Notre Dame thinks highly of him, and then you get the injury. So you're like, oh man, it's not going to be Faison. Only going to be 1 to 2 weeks, but I think we're going to learn a lot about what Notre Dame thinks KK Smith is or what he could be in seeing, because look, on the depth chart, it says Chris Mitchell and then it says KK Smith. There's no or. There were 3 ors for the wide receiver spots in the week 1 depth chart. So how much does KK Smith actually play? Of course, that could be dictated by how much Notre Dame might get up in this game against Northern Illinois. They're a 28-point favorite. So yeah, with the passing game, I said it earlier, there was a lot to be desired. And Bo Collins, to Mike Singer's credit, our colleague at Blue and Gold, he said that was going to be the guy, and he looked like the guy in that game. I didn't see a lot of other guys who looked like they could be the guy. Of course, Greathouse made that catch that we talked about, but Jaden Thomas, I don't know his statistics, but they weren't eye popping, and it was tough for the wide receivers to kind of get off the ground again, that as we knew maybe would be the case, because that's been the case for a couple of years. So yeah, I do have a little bit of worry with this wide receiver room, but again, it's not just a Jordan Faison thing. It's, do they really have 6 guys that you can trust? I don't know if Northern Illinois is going to be the decisive indicator of that, or Purdue or Miami of Ohio for that instance. But a big thing is Bo Collins did look good against a pretty good Texas A&M team. So I think he will look good throughout. And then by the time that Notre Dame plays someone that can give them a scare, probably Louisville at the end of the month, I think you're going to be gaining some confidence from guys like Greathouse and maybe even KK Smith. Chris Mitchell, I think, needs to get more involved as well. So I'm on the fence with these guys. I think you are too, Darren, and I think a lot of people are, but they just have to prove it to us.
Well, the passing game will look better when Mitchell Evans is out there for 50, 60, 70 plays. Only 10 plays against A&M. Marcus Freeman says that Evans was only cleared a week before the Texas A&M game. So that makes the offense look a lot different when you have one of the best tight ends in the country standing on the sideline.
Yeah, I take nothing from what Mitchell Evans did against Texas A&M, because all 10 of those plays, Darren, I think were on third down. I think every single one of them were on third down. How do you expect a guy to come off the bench and get involved and get into any sort of game flow when he's coming in on the money down every single time? He was more or less a decoy, I think. I don't know if Notre Dame was expecting to get anything production-wise from Mitchell Evans in this game. Now, if he plays 10 plays against Northern Illinois and all of them are third downs, I think Mitchell Evans is good enough to maybe get a touchdown or, a first down or a couple big catches. He's that good of a player. In that game, though, in that spot, in the spots that they put him in, very tough for him to get going. I do think he gets going maybe as soon as the Northern Illinois game, though, because like Marcus Freeman said, the ramp up is going to continue to increase. They're going to give him more reps. And by the end of the month, I would say, again, at this point, I don't want to say that Notre Dame is going to steamroll their next 3 opponents, but they should beat them. They're not leaving the state of Indiana. There's a road game at Purdue. Notre Dame is better than Purdue. Let's just say it for what it is right here. I think kind of for guys like Faison, even Darren and Mitchell Evans, guys who are dealing with things, I think you're kind of circling Louisville and saying, hey, hopefully we're 4-0 by the time we play those guys. We're not going to lose to those guys again. I think this is a month of September where Evans and Faison and guys of that nature are going to be looking to get healthy.
Marcus Freeman was asked on Monday about trying to decide whether to throw the deep ball against A&M or keep things where they were quick hitters to get the ball out of the hands of Riley Leonard as quickly as possible. Doesn't it make a lot of sense that they didn't try to go deep in this game? But obviously, as the season goes on, that's going to be more than likely at least a good chunk of their offense.
It's a great point by you to bring this up. I think and Marcus Freeman made the point that they were not trying to do that in this game. And you know where my mind went with this, Darren? Go back 2 years ago in the season opener against Ohio State, and Marcus Freeman explicitly said, we're going to kind of dumb down this game plan. We're going to take care of the football and see where the chips fall. They did the same exact thing in this game, Darren, and they won by 10 points against the top 20 team on the road. in front of 107,000 people. I think that's how far this program has come in 2 years, where you can say, hey, we're not even looking for the deep ball. If it's there, maybe we'll throw it up and we can get a steal a touchdown type of situation out of it. But in this game, they said, we're not even going to look for it. We're not going to go for it. And they still won the football game by 10 points. So, yeah, to your point, they are going to throw the deep ball in subsequent games, and Riley Leonard's going to hit it. I think Chris Mitchell's going to have some long touchdowns. Bo Collins, I will hit on that again. I think he's a guy that can give you some long touchdowns based on what I saw in that Texas A&M game. But to know that you don't have to look for it against the Aggies and you can still win by 10 points, I think that's a really, really good feeling, because once Notre Dame does start hitting the deep ball, boy, an offense that has so much potential starts reaching levels of unlocking, if you will. You're going to unlock some stuff from the Irish offense.
And I think we'll see a lot more of motion from that Irish offense, but not in that first game with all the noise and communication. Made no sense. Quick thought on Northern Illinois this week?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they look good. Was it Western Illinois? I haven't done the scouting on that game, but I think it was a 50 burger. They put up 50 points. They look good. Didn't even know who the starting quarterback was going to be going into that game. I was doing some research last week for our magazine, and a Hammock, I believe it was, who they put out there. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, ended up looking good. So I think he's got a couple wide receivers that are players in college football. Maybe not Power 4 players, but on the cusp of that, on the verge of that, some good-looking receivers. But we know that Notre Dame has really good-looking defensive backs and a defensive front that can get after Hammock. So I like the Irish big in this one. I don't think there's any sort of hangover, if you will. Marcus Freeman is doing a really good job of. It probably goes back to Marshall a couple of years ago. I hate to harp on that point, but I do think Marcus Freeman is doing a good job of saying, hey, you only get 6 games a year in this stadium in front of your home fans. Why would you do anything to jeopardize winning one of those and come away and not win a game that you should win? So I do like Notre Dame big, but Northern Illinois, I mean, one point about their defense as well. I believe it was a top 25 overall defense in total yards and maybe top 6 or 7 against the run. I think it was. They were I don't know. I have to go back. They were either top 6 or 7 against the run or the pass. So they have a niche. They can get after you a little bit on that side of the ball. But I do think Notre Dame being at home with everything that it has offensively, finally being able to go against someone who doesn't have Nick Scorton or some of those players that Texas A&M had, I think the Irish kind of get rolling and definitely score more than 23 points in this one.
For our WSBT radio listeners, what did they miss if they were not a subscriber last weekend?
A ton of content, man. Enough content that came from not sleeping 1 ounce on Saturday night. I think that travel story is all over our message board. Me, Jack Sobel, and Kyle Kelly went straight from College Station to the airport in Houston, where Kyle Kelly got on his flight at 5 a.m., Jack at 7, me at 9. We were working in the airport. So ton of content, game coverage. Kyle Kelly was actually out there in Texas for some recruiting content as well. So go to blueandgold.com for the gold standard, because there were some guys that Notre Dame is looking at out there, and he was out there to talk to them. So game coverage, recruiting, the place to be is blueandgold.com, and not just for big games like the Texas A&M game, but that's going to be all year long. So definitely get to blueandgold.com.